She hit the water before anyone screamed. 1 second, a pregnant socialite in white silk. The next, a body sinking beneath turquoise lights while her husband watched and didn't move. Then, a man no one recognized dove in, dragging her from the deep like he'd done it before. When she whispered his name, every lie in that courtyard cracked, because the man who saved her wasn't supposed to exist. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I'll be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now, back to our story. The night everything changed started with champagne, lies, and a woman who shouldn't have been standing by the pool. At a courtyard gala, shimmering with champagne and carefully curated smiles, the evening pulses with music and masked intentions. Fairy lights drape from marble columns, casting golden shadows across polished shoes and designer gowns. Laughter floats above the crowd like expensive perfume. Sweet on the surface, cloying underneath. Serafina Vale arrives late, draped in white silk that catches the moonlight with every step. Her hand rests protectively on her swollen belly, the only honest thing in a room built on secrets. Heads turn, whispers spiral. She's radiant, untouchable. A queen walking through her own kingdom, unaware the throne has been stolen. Across the turquoise pool, her husband Cassian Vale leans close to Dahlia Quinn, his so-called assistant. Too close. Their bodies angle toward each other in a language everyone can read, but no one dares translate. Dahlia's red dress bleeds into the night like a warning. Cassian's smirk is all teeth, no warmth. Serafina sees them. Their eyes meet across the water. Hers calm, Dahlia's defiant, Cassian's cold. Something brittle cracks in the air. The crowd parts as Serafina glides forward, her heels clicking against stone. Guests lift champagne flutes to their lips, but don't drink, watching, waiting. The music swells, but beneath it, danger hums like a live wire. She stops at the pool's edge, her reflection trembling in the water below. "Lovely evening," she says, her voice steady as steel wrapped in velvet. Dahlia's jaw tightens. Cassian reaches for his drink, his fingers brushing Dahlia's wrist, a small gesture, deliberate, possessive. Then it happens. A heel catches, or maybe a hand pushes. No one will agree on what they saw. Serafina's eyes widen, her hand reaching instinctively for her belly as gravity claims her. The white silk billows like wings as she falls backward. The scream cuts through Vivaldi. Champagne glasses shatter on stone. Time fractures. Serafina crashes into the turquoise water, white silk blooming around her like a funeral shroud. Bubbles rise. Her hands claw toward the surface. Then, pain. Sharp, searing, radiating from her abdomen. Contractions. The guests freeze, horror painted across their faces. Cassian stands rooted, his mask slipping just enough to reveal something underneath. Not concern. Fear. Then, before anyone can breathe, the figure in a tailored suit launches himself off the edge. No hesitation. No calculation. Pure instinct. He hits the water like a bullet. Suit jacket darkening instantly. His arms cut through the chlorine, reaching for her before she sinks deeper. Strong hands find her waist, pulling her upward toward air, toward life, toward everything that comes next. They break the surface together, gasping. Water streams down his face, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. For a moment their eyes lock, and something passes between them. Recognition. History. Ghost stories coming back to life. "Lucian," Serafina whispers. water and disbelief mingling in her voice. The man, Lucien D'Amato, the stranger everyone knows to fear, but no one knows to expect, lifts her toward the edge where hands finally reach to help. His movements are efficient, commanding. This isn't his first crisis. His suit clings to a body that's seen war, not boardrooms. "Get towels," he barks. "Call an ambulance, now." The crowd obeys. Authority in his voice turns chaos into choreography. Cassian stares, frozen between fury and something more dangerous. The look of a man whose carefully constructed empire just developed a crack. Serafina doubles over, clutching her stomach. Another contraction, stronger this time. Dahlia steps back into the shadows, her hand covering her mouth, mascara already beginning to run. Lucien kneels beside Serafina, water pooling around them both. "Stay with me," he murmurs, low enough that only she can hear, just like before. But this moment, this rescue, this reunion, didn't begin tonight. It began years ago in another life, when a woman was taken and a man with blood on his hands made the first right choice of his criminal career. To understand the dive, you must first understand the drowning, and to understand why Lucien D'Amato jumped without thinking, you must know what happened the last time he let Serafina Vale slip through his fingers. Lucien hauls Serafina to the pool's edge, his arms locked around her trembling body. Hands reach down. Too many, too frantic. But he filters through the chaos with surgical precision, passing her only to those steady enough to hold her weight. "Carefully," he commands, his voice cutting through the screams. "Support her back." Water streams from his suit as he pulls himself out in one fluid motion. The crowd parts instinctively, recognizing authority even when they don't understand its source. Serafina gasps on the stone doubled over, her white dress clinging to her like a second skin. Another contraction rips through her, stronger, sharper, unforgiving. Cassian finally moves, rushing forward, his polished shoes slipping on wet stone. "Serafina, don't!" Lucien's hand shoots up, stopping him mid-stride. "You've done enough." The crowd goes silent. Even the music seems to pause, as if the night itself is holding its breath. Cassian's face contorts, fear wrestling with fury, losing badly. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Lucien meets his gaze without blinking, water dripping from his jaw. "The man who saved your wife." He pauses, letting the word settle like a knife between ribs. Twice. The statement lands like a grenade. Guests exchange glances. Cassian's face drains of color, his jaw working but no sound emerging. He knows. Somewhere in the vault of his carefully constructed life, he knows exactly who Lucien D'Amato is. Serafina moans, clutching her stomach, and Lucien drops to his knees beside her. His hands move with practiced calm, checking her pulse, tilting her chin up so she can breathe. "Stay with me. The ambulance is coming." "I know you," she whispers, her voice threaded with pain and something deeper. Recognition, memory, ghosts rising from graves they were never meant to leave. "I know," Lucien murmurs back, low enough that only she hears. "And I'm not leaving this time." Someone drapes a towel over her shoulders. Another wraps one around Lucien, though he doesn't seem to notice. His focus is absolute, his body positioned between Serafina and the crowd, and especially between Serafina and Cassian. Dahlia stands frozen near the bar, her red dress now feeling like a confession. Her hands shake as she clutches her champagne flute, knuckles white, watching the scene unfold like a nightmare she can't wake from. This wasn't supposed to happen. A stumble, a scene, a reason to question Serafina's stability. That's what Cassian promised. Not this, not labor, not him. Sirens wail in the distance, growing louder. Cassian steps forward again, rage finally overpowering fear. Get away from her. Lucian doesn't move. Make me. The challenge hangs in the air, electric and dangerous. Cassian's fists clench, his entire body coiled like a spring. But he doesn't swing. Maybe it's the crowd. Maybe it's the sirens. Maybe it's the look in Lucian's eyes, the kind of look that promises consequences beyond what money can fix. Paramedics rush through the courtyard gates, their equipment rattling. Lucian steps aside, finally, giving them room to work. They load Serafina onto a stretcher, her hand reaching out instinctively. Lucian catches it, holds it for 1 second longer than necessary. "Hope," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the commotion. "If it's a girl, hope." Lucian nods, something breaking behind his eyes. Hope. The stretcher rolls away, swallowed by flashing lights and urgent voices. Cassian moves to follow, but Lucian's voice stops him cold. "You weren't there when she fell. You won't be there when she rises." Cassian turns, venom in every syllable. "You have no idea what you've just started." Lucian's smile is all edges, no warmth. "Neither do you." As the ambulance pulls away, its red lights painting the courtyard in blood and warning, Lucian stands dripping by the pool. The guests begin to scatter, murmuring, phones already out. Dahlia disappears into the shadows, her heels clicking a frantic rhythm against stone. And Cassian Vale, entrepreneur, husband, liar, stands alone by the water, watching his empire begin its slow, inevitable drowning. The hospital smells like antiseptic and broken promises. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting everything in a pale, unforgiving glow. Lucian paces the hallway outside the delivery room, his wetsuit leaving a trail of water on linoleum. Nurses glance at him, some nervous, some curious, but no one tells him to leave. He wouldn't go even if they tried. Behind the double doors, Serafina's screams punctuate the beeping machines and urgent voices. Premature, high risk, complications. Words filter through the chaos, each one a hammer blow. Lucian's hands flex at his sides, muscle memory reaching for weapons that aren't there. In another life, in another version of himself, he would have already eliminated the threat. Found who pushed her. Made them pay in currencies that can't be spent. But that's not who he's trying to be anymore, even if it's who he'll always be underneath. The elevator dings. Cassian Vale storms out, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits, lawyers or bodyguards, maybe both. His hair is still damp, his jacket replaced with a dry one that probably costs more than most people make in a month. His eyes lock onto Lucian like crosshairs. "You," Cassian snarls, closing the distance in 3 strides. "You have no right." Lucian doesn't move, doesn't flinch. "I have every right. I'm the one who pulled her out while you stood there counting the cost of the scandal." Cassian's fist comes fast, fueled by rage and humiliation. It connects with Lucian's jaw, a solid hit that snaps his head to the side. Blood blooms on his lip. Lucian straightens slowly, rolling his jaw, but he doesn't swing back. His restraint is more terrifying than any violence could be. "Feel better?" Lucian asks, his voice dangerously quiet. Cassian's breathing is ragged, his fist still clenched. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're nothing. A criminal playing dress-up." "Maybe." Lucian wipes blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. "But I'm the criminal who showed up. Where were you when she needed saving?" The words hit harder than any punch. Cassian's face contorts, but before he can respond, the doors burst open. A doctor emerges, mask hanging around her neck, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. "Mr. Vale?" Cassian straightens, reclaiming his composure like armor. "Yes. My wife, is she? She's stable. The baby arrived earlier than we'd like, but she's breathing on her own. Small, but strong." The doctor's gaze flickers to Lucian, then back to Cassian. "She's asking for someone named Lucien." The hallway goes still. Cassian's jaw tightens so hard it could crack teeth. "I'm Lucien," he says, stepping forward. The doctor nods, professional neutrality masking whatever judgment she might hold. 5 minutes. She needs rest. Lucien walks past Cassian without a word, his wet shoes squeaking against the floor. Behind him, he hears Cassian's lawyer lean in, whispering urgently. Something about reporters, footage, damage control. The room is dim, machines beeping a steady rhythm. Serafina lies in the bed, pale as the sheets, but her eyes are open, alert, alive. In the corner, a bassinet holds a tiny form wrapped in pink. "You came," Serafina whispers. "I never left." Lucien approaches slowly, like she's something fragile that might shatter. "How are you feeling?" "Like I fell from a great height." A weak smile touches her lips. "Thank you for catching me." "Always." A nurse adjusts the IV, glancing between them. Serafina's hand reaches out, trembling, and Lucian takes it. Her grip is weak but determined. "Tell him," she whispers to the nurse. "Tell Lucian the baby's name is Hope." The nurse nods, making a note on the chart. Lucian's eyes burn, but he doesn't let the tears fall. Hope. A name that feels like a promise, like redemption wrapped in 7 pounds of new life. "Hope," he repeats, the word almost a prayer. Outside the room, Cassian's phone rings. His lawyer answers, face going pale. "Sir, we have a problem. The pool footage, someone leaked it. It's already on 3 news sites. They're calling it attempted murder." Cassian's world tilts on its axis. Through the window, he watches Lucian hold his wife's hand, watches her smile at a man who isn't him, and realizes the scandal isn't the worst thing that happened tonight. The worst thing is that she looks at Lucian the way she used to look at him, before the lies, before Dahlia, before everything turned to ash. The lawyer's voice continues, urgent and grim. "Sir, we need to get ahead of this, now." But Cassian just stares through the glass, watching his marriage dissolve in real time, and knows that some things can't be spun, bought, or buried. Some things just drown you. Dahlia's penthouse is all glass and chrome, beautiful, expensive, and hollow. She stands at the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the city lights, seeing nothing. Her red dress hangs off her shoulders now, zipper halfway down, mascara streaked down her cheeks in black rivers. On the coffee table, her phone buzzes, again and again. News alerts, each one a nail in a coffin she helped build. Socialite pushed into pool at charity gala. Pregnant wife of tech mogul rescued by mystery man. Witnesses claim assault, police investigating. She pours herself another glass of wine with shaking hands. The bottle is already half empty, but the guilt won't drown. It just keeps rising, filling her lungs like chlorinated water. This wasn't supposed to happen, Cassian promised. Just a stumble, just enough to make Serafina look unstable, emotional, unfit. Plant the seed of doubt, not this, not labor. Not attempted murder charges scrolling across her phone screen. It was just supposed to scare her, Dahlia whispers to the empty room, as if saying it out loud will make it true. but she knows the truth. She put her hands on Serafina's back. She pushed. Maybe not hard, maybe just enough, but enough is everything. Her phone buzzes again, but this time it's not a news alert. A text from an unknown number. Debt not cleared. Your brother's time is up. Ice floods her veins. Dahlia's fingers fly across the screen, calling the number. It rings once, then disconnects. She tries again, same result. Then another message appears, this time with an attachment. A photo. Her brother Marcus, bound to a chair in a dark room. A gag in his mouth. Terror in his eyes. The timestamp reads 20 minutes ago. Dahlia's knees buckle. The wine glass slips from her hand, shattering on the marble floor like her last illusion of control. Before she can breathe, her phone rings. Cassian. She answers, her voice breaking. Cassian, they have Marcus. They said, I know what they said. His voice is cold, clinical, empty of anything resembling concern. I sent them. The words don't register at first. Then they do, and the room tilts. You... What? You were supposed to handle one simple task, Dahlia. Make her look unstable. Instead, you created a media circus and landed her in the hospital with sympathetic headlines. His tone sharpens. You made me look like the villain. I did what you asked. Dahlia's voice cracks, desperation bleeding through. You said, I said scare her, not attempt to kill her and her baby on camera. A pause heavy with menace. Now I have to clean up your mess, and you're going to help me. Dahlia's chest tightens. What do you want? Silence. Complete, absolute silence. If the police come asking, you know nothing, you saw nothing, Serafina slipped. You were nowhere near her. But the footage will be handled. I have people working on it. His voice drops lower, each word a threat wrapped in velvet. But if you deviate from the script, if you even think about confessing to ease your guilty conscience, your brother dies. Not quickly, not cleanly. Do you understand? Tears stream down Dahlia's face. She wants to scream, to fight, to tell him to go to hell. But the photo of Marcus burns behind her eyes. I understand, she whispers. Good. There's a voice message coming through. Listen carefully. The line disconnects. Seconds later, a voice message arrives. She plays it with trembling hands. Cassian's voice fills her penthouse, smooth and poisonous. Consider this motivation. Your brother's debt was $50,000. Every day you stay silent, I'll reduce it by $5,000. But if you talk, if you break, his next swim will be his last. And Dahlia, unlike your last victim, no one will dive in to save him. The message ends. The silence that follows is suffocating. Dahlia slides down the wall, glass crunching beneath her, and realizes the truth she's been avoiding all night. She isn't Cassian's partner. She's his prisoner. And the bars of her cage are made of blood and blackmail and the brother she's supposed to protect. She looks at her phone, at the news alerts, at Marcus's terrified face, at the shattered wine glass spreading red across white marble like a crime scene. And she understands, finally, that she's trapped deeper than she ever imagined. Not just in Cassian's web, but in her own guilt. Because even if Marcus survives, even if she stays silent and he goes free, she'll never escape the image of Serafina falling. That moment lives in her now, permanent as a scar. Dahlia pulls her knees to her chest and sobs in her beautiful, expensive, hollow prison, while outside, the city lights continue to glitter. Indifferent, eternal, and completely out of reach. The hospital quiets after midnight. Visiting hours ended long ago, but Lucian remains, a ghost haunting the corridor outside Serafina's room. A nurse tried to remove him once. The look he gave her ensured no one tried again. He finally pushes open the door at 2 a.m. when the only sounds are machines breathing for people who can't breathe for themselves. Serafina is awake. She's been waiting. "You stayed," she says, her voice soft but unsurprised. "I told you I would." Lucian closes the door behind him, moving to the chair beside her bed. In the dim light, with his jacket finally removed and his shirt still carrying faint water stains, he looks less like a hero and more like what he is, a man haunted by choices that won't stay buried. Their eyes meet and time collapses. The hospital room fades, the beeping machines quiet. All that's left is the weight of years and the secrets they carry. "Why did you disappear?" Serafina's question comes out barely above a whisper, but it lands like a shout. Lucian exhales slowly, his jaw tight. "Because staying would have killed you. You don't know that." "Yes, I do." His voice is rough, abraded by truth. "You want to know who I was back then? Who I really was?" Serafina nods, though fear flickers in her eyes. And so he tells her. Not everything. Some things are too dark to speak aloud in a room where new life sleeps nearby, but enough. The flashback unfolds between them like a shared nightmare. 8 years ago. Serafina was 22, the daughter of a politician who made enemies faster than friends. A kidnapping, meant to send a message. Lucian D'Amato, then known as the Raven of Palermo, was ordered to collect her from the team who grabbed her and deliver her to a secondary location. A warehouse by the docks. Final destination. Leverage, ransom, or worse. He found her in the back of a van, wrists zip-tied, terror carved into every feature. Their eyes met, and something in him, something he thought had died years before, cracked open. "You're going to be okay," he told her. His first lie to her, but also his first truth. Because he decided in that moment to make it true, consequences be damned. He killed 3 men that night. Burned the van. Carried her through back alleys to a safe house run by someone who owed him silence. Stayed with her for 3 days while the city burned itself looking for her, his syndicate included. On the 4th day, he put her on a train to her aunt's house upstate, gave her cash and a burner phone, and told her to forget his name. She kissed him instead. Brief, desperate, grateful, and something more. Something that made leaving the hardest thing he'd ever done. "Why are you saving me?" she'd asked. "Because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me and saw a human being instead of a weapon." Then he'd vanished, covering his tracks so thoroughly that even his own people couldn't find him. He disappeared into straight life, small jobs, quiet existence, anything to leave the Raven behind. The memory fades. They're back in the hospital room, older now, carrying different scars. "You saved me," Serafina says, tears on her cheeks. "And then you left me. If I'd stayed, they would have found you eventually. Found us. And they don't leave loose ends." Lucian's voice cracks. "I gave you a chance at a normal life, a real life. I married Cassian to feel safe." The confession tastes bitter. "I thought money and status could build walls high enough to keep the monsters out. But you married a monster instead." It's not a question. Serafina closes her eyes. "I didn't know. Not at first. By the time I realized," she touches her stomach, "where hope was just hours ago. By then, I was already trapped." Lucian reaches for her hand, hesitates, then takes it anyway. I'm not leaving this time. Whatever comes next, I'm here. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I kept the last one, didn't I? I kept you alive. Before Serafina can respond, the door opens. A nurse enters, professional smile in place, carrying a clipboard. Mrs. Vale, I hate to interrupt, but there's some paperwork we need you to review. She sets the clipboard down, and Serafina's blood turns to ice when she sees the letterhead. Paternity Testing Authorization, requested by Cassian Vale. The nurse doesn't seem to notice the tension that floods the room. Just routine and complicated births. Your husband requested it earlier. We'll need your signature by morning. She leaves. The door clicks shut. Lucian and Serafina stare at the clipboard like it's a loaded gun. He knows, she whispers. He knows hope isn't his. Lucian's grip tightens on her hand. How? Because 9 months ago, I saw you, just once, at a fundraiser across the country. You were working security. Her voice shakes. I told myself it was closure. One drink, one conversation, one night to finally say goodbye to the ghost I'd been carrying. Understanding dawns on Lucian's face, followed by something between wonder and terror. Hope is yours, Serafina finishes. And once Cassian has proof, he'll use her to destroy both of us. Outside the hospital room, in the shadows of the corridor, Cassian Vale stands with his phone pressed to his ear. He's heard enough, more than enough. His voice is ice when he speaks to whoever's on the other end of the line. I want the results expedited, and then I want him erased, quietly. He ends the call and stares through the window at his wife and the man who ruined everything, their hands intertwined like a promise Cassian fully intends to break. Some debts, he thinks, are paid in blood. The paternity results arrive 72 hours later, delivered by a lawyer in a suit worth more than most people's cars. Cassian receives them in his downtown office. 47th floor, glass walls overlooking a city he once thought he owned. He opens the envelope with steady hands, reads the first page, then the second, then goes back to read them again, as if repetition might change the conclusion typed in clinical, unforgiving language. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. The paper crumples in his fist. His assistant knocks gently. Mr. Vale, your 3 o'clock is, cancel it. His voice is hollow, echoing. Cancel everything. She retreats quickly, recognizing danger in his tone. Cassian stands, walks to the window and stares down at the city 47 floors below. People move like ants, unaware that above them, a man's carefully constructed empire is cracking from the foundation up. The child isn't his. The wife he paraded at galas, the pregnancy he announced at board meetings, the heir he promised shareholders, all of it built on a lie. Serafina's lie, her betrayal. But beneath the rage, something else pulses. Relief. Because if hope isn't his, then losing her doesn't hurt. Losing them doesn't hurt. What hurts is the humiliation, the exposure, the whispers that will follow him for years. Poor Cassian Vale. Couldn't keep his wife faithful. Poor Cassian Vale, raising another man's bastard. His phone rings. The lawyer. Mr. Vale, given these results, we should discuss your options regarding file for divorce, immediately, infidelity, fraud, whatever gets me out fastest and costs her most. Sir, given her current medical state and the media attention, a judge might— I don't care what a judge might do. Make it happen. Cassian's reflection in the window shows a man he barely recognizes. All fury, no facade. And the other matter we discussed? A pause. The lawyer knows better than to have this conversation over unsecured lines. Your associate has been contacted. He's waiting for final confirmation to proceed. He has it tonight. Cassian ends the call and immediately dials another number. This one rings longer, answered eventually by a voice made of gravel and old smoke. Vale. Didn't expect to hear from you so soon. The target is Lucian D'Amato. Used to run with the Palermo Syndicate under the name Raven. He's been living clean for 8 years, but old dogs don't forget old tricks. D'Amato. The name carries weight, recognition. That's a heavy target. He's not just some civilian. Then charge me accordingly. I want him gone, quietly. No connections to me. When? Tonight. He'll be at Memorial Hospital visiting my soon-to-be ex-wife. Bitterness drips from every word. Make it look like gang business. Old scores settled. Nothing to do with me. It'll cost you. Everything costs me. Just get it done. Cassian hangs up and finally lets the composure crack. He sweeps his desk clean in one violent motion. Laptop, files, the photo of him and Serafina on their wedding day, all of it crashing to marble floors. His secretary's voice comes timidly through the intercom. "Mr. Vale, is everything out?" he roars. Silence. Then the sound of rapid footsteps retreating. Cassian collapses into his chair, the paternity results still clutched in his white-knuckled fist. On the paper, Hope's name is listed under child with clinical detachment, as if she's a specimen rather than a 7-pound miracle sleeping in a hospital bassinet. He should feel something. Grief, loss, even anger at the child who isn't his. But all he feels is the burn of humiliation and the cold satisfaction of revenge already set in motion. By morning, Lucian D'Amato will be a closed casket. By next week, Serafina will be destitute, her reputation in ruins, fighting for custody of a child she can't afford to keep. And by next month, Cassian will have rebuilt his image as the wronged husband, the victim of a faithless wife and her criminal lover. It's almost poetic. His phone buzzes. A text from Dahlia. "Please, I'll do anything. Just let my brother go." He deletes it without responding. She served her purpose. Her brother is insurance now, leverage to ensure her silence until the smoke clears. Outside, the sun begins to set, painting the city in shades of amber and blood. Cassian watches it, hollow and vengeful, and thinks about how easy it is to destroy a life when you stop caring about the collateral damage. In the hospital across town, Lucian sits beside Serafina's bed, holding Hope for the first time, unaware that in a few hours, men with guns and no conscience will come looking for him. Unaware that the past he tried to bury is about to bury him instead. And in her penthouse prison, Dahlia stares at the unanswered text, at her brother's photo, at the news coverage of the woman she pushed, and makes a decision that will either save them all or condemn her forever. Some chains, she's learning, can only be broken by those brave enough to cut off their own hands. Lucian's phone vibrates at 11 p.m., the name on the screen one he hasn't seen in 8 years. Enzo. He steps into the hospital stairwell to answer, keeping his voice low. "You shouldn't be calling this number. And you shouldn't be playing hero on national television." Enzo's voice is rough, familiar, carrying the weight of shared history and buried bodies. "We need to talk, now." "I'm clean, Enzo, have been for years." "No one's clean. You know that better than anyone." A pause, heavy with meaning. "Meet me at the old spot in an hour. If you don't show, I can't protect you from what's coming." The line goes dead. Lucian stands in the stairwell, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and feels the past tightening around his throat like a noose. He could ignore it, stay with Serafina and Hope, pretend the warning is just paranoia. But Enzo doesn't make social calls. If he's risking contact after 8 years of silence, it's because the threat is real. Lucian returns to Serafina's room. She's asleep, hope cradled in her arms. The image is so perfect, so fragile, that it physically hurts to look at. He scribbles a note. Had to step out, back soon, lock the door, and leaves it on the nightstand. Then he disappears into the night. The old spot is a 24-hour diner on the wrong side of town, the kind of place where questions aren't asked and memories are short. Enzo sits in the back booth, older now, grayer, but still carrying the presence of a man who survived when others didn't. Lucian slides in across from him. Talk. Cassian Vale put a hit on you. No preamble, no softening, just fact, delivered like a bullet. Lucian's blood goes cold, but his expression doesn't change. How do you know? Because he contacted Victor Costa to do it, and Victor's still on the payroll, our payroll. Enzo leans forward, voice dropping. You remember the money laundering operation we ran through those tech startups back in the day? Yeah, we shut it down when I left. Wrong, we expanded it. Cassian Vale's entire empire, built on laundered syndicate money, has been for 6 years. Enzo's eyes bore into Lucian's. He didn't just stumble into success. We bought him, made him, and in return he keeps our money clean and pays a generous percentage. The pieces fall into place with sickening clarity. Serafina's wealthy husband, his too-fast rise, his connections that seem to open every door, all of it bought with mob money. The same mob Lucian fled. So why warn me? Lucian asks. If he's your asset, because you were family. Still are, in the ways that matter. Enzo slides a photo across the table. Cassian, shaking hands with known syndicate leaders, dates and locations stamped in the corner. And because he broke protocol, you don't kill made guys, even former ones, without approval from the top. He went rogue, thinking his money makes him untouchable. What does the family want? Officially, nothing. You're retired, remember? You fulfilled your exit terms. Enzo's smile is thin and dangerous. Unofficially, they're very interested in why their golden boy is risking exposure over a woman and a kid that isn't even his. Lucian processes this. You're using me to take him down. I'm giving you a chance to survive what's coming. Victor's crew hits at 3 a.m., hospital, 5th floor, your friend's room. They'll make it look like a robbery gone wrong, kill you, maybe her too if she wakes up. Enzo's voice hardens. Or you can disappear tonight. Leave the city, leave her, and we'll call off Victor, clean break, just like before. That's not an option. Then you're choosing death, yours, and probably hers. Lucian stares at the photo of Cassian, at the man who has everything Lucian gave up, wealth, status, Serafina's name if not her heart, and feels rage crystallize into purpose. There's a third option, Lucian says quietly. And what's that? I take the fight to them, all of them. Cassian, Victor, whoever else thinks I'm easy prey because I've been playing civilian. He meets Enzo's eyes. You said the family wants Cassian gone. Help me do it right. No blowback, no exposure. Just a clean removal that protects everyone's interests. Enzo studies him for a long moment. You're not that guy anymore. Haven't been for 8 years. Maybe not, but the Raven never really died. He just went to sleep, and you just woke him up. Something shifts in Enzo's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition of the man Lucian used to be, the one who never lost a fight because he never fought fair. What do you need? Enzo asks. Everything you have on Cassian's operation. Financial records, contact lists, dirt that makes him toxic to the family. Lucien's voice is steel wrapped in velvet. And call off Victor. Tell him if he comes near that hospital, he'll answer to me. The old me. Enzo nods slowly. You sure about this? Once you step back in, even for this, there's no walking away again. Lucien thinks of Serafina sleeping in that hospital bed, of Hope's tiny fingers wrapped around his thumb, of the life he could have if he survives the next 72 hours. I can't unmake my past, he says, echoing words he told himself years ago, but I can damn well fight to rewrite it. Enzo slides a burner phone across the table. Call me on this in 2 hours. I'll have what you need. They stand simultaneously. Enzo offers his hand. Lucien shakes it. Sealing an alliance forged in old loyalty and new necessity. As Lucien walks out of the diner into the cold night air, he feels the transformation beginning. The civilian mask he's worn for 8 years starts to crack, revealing the predator underneath. Cassian Vale wants a war. He'll get one, but he won't survive it. Behind him, Enzo watches through the diner window, phone already pressed to his ear. It's done. The Raven's back in play. Yes, I know it's risky, but if anyone can take down Vale without burning the whole operation, it's him. He ends the call and orders another coffee, settling in to wait. Because when men like Lucien D'Amato go to war, smart people get out of the way and pray they're not counted among the casualties. The headlines hit like shrapnel, each one designed to wound. Pregnant heiress rescued by reformed Mafia lieutenant. Cassian Vale's wife in mystery, man's arms. Who is Lucien D'Amato? From Palermo to poolside, the Raven returns. By morning, the story has metastasized across every platform. Twitter threads dissect Lucien's past. Instagram posts zoom in on the moment he pulled Serafina from the water, analyzing the look in their eyes. TikTok conspiracy theories connect dots that don't exist, inventing affairs and criminal conspiracies from pixels and speculation. Serafina watches the news from her hospital bed, Hope sleeping in her arms, and feels her carefully constructed life dissolve in real time. The commentators speak about her like she's a character in someone else's story, the naive wife, the secret lover, the woman who couldn't be satisfied with billions. Mrs. Vale clearly has a type, one pundit smirks. Dangerous men with questionable pasts. Another chimes in. Sources say D'Amato was known as the Raven during his time with the Palermo Syndicate. We're talking about a man with alleged connections to... Serafina mutes the television. The silence is worse. In it, she can hear the whispers that will follow her forever. Lucien enters with coffee and a grim expression. We need to move you. Paparazzi are camped outside every exit. One tried to bribe a nurse for your room number. Where would we even go? Somewhere they can't find you. I have a place, off-grid, secure. He sets the coffee down, his movements careful, controlled. But there's something you need to know first. Serafina's stomach drops. What? Lucien sits, and for the first time since the pool, he looks uncertain, vulnerable. Cassian's empire. His tech companies, his investments, all of it, it's built on laundered money. Syndicate money. The same organization I used to work for. The words hang in the air like smoke. Serafina processes them slowly, each implication landing with sickening clarity. You're saying my life, our home, our lifestyle, everything, was funded by criminals. Yes, by your people, your crimes. Her voice shakes, not with anger, but with the weight of betrayal compounding betrayal. by sins I committed before I knew you existed. Lucian's jaw tightens. And now I'm here to pay for both of ours. Before Serafina can respond, her phone erupts with notifications. Text messages from numbers she doesn't recognize, emails from reporters, social media mentions that turn her stomach. Gold Digger couldn't even wait for the baby to be born. She probably planned the whole thing. Cassian Vale deserves better. Lucian takes the phone gently from her hands and turns it off. Don't read them. They don't know you. But they will. They'll dig and find every mistake, every secret. Tears burn her eyes. They'll find out about Hope's father, about that night 9 months ago. They'll turn it into something sordid and shameful. Let them. The truth is the truth. We don't apologize for it. Easy for you to say. You've already been the villain. I'm supposed to be... She trails off, unable to finish. Perfect? Lucian's voice is gentle but firm. You were never going to be perfect, Serafina. You were just going to be human, and humans fall. The question is whether you get back up. Outside, a commotion erupts, shouting, then screaming. Lucian is on his feet instantly, positioning himself between Serafina and the door. A nurse bursts in, face pale. There's been an explosion. The parking garage... Lucian's blood turns to ice. Where? Near the west entrance. Dr. Chen's car. She was supposed to examine Mrs. Vale this morning. The nurse's hands shake. They're saying it's a car bomb. Police are evacuating the building. Serafina clutches Hope tighter. Cassian. Lucian's expression hardens into something cold and lethal. He's not just trying to destroy your reputation. He wants you dead. The hospital alarm blares to life. Red lights flashing. Security personnel flood the hallways, directing patients toward emergency exits. But Lucian doesn't move toward the door. He moves toward the window, scanning the street below. What are you doing? Serafina asks, panic rising. Making sure this isn't a distraction. His voice is pure calculation now, the civilian mask completely gone. Car bombs draw crowds, create chaos, perfect cover for a secondary attack. As if summoning it with words, Lucian spots movement across the street. A man in a maintenance uniform, but his gait is wrong, too purposeful, too trained. He reaches into his jacket. Get down, Lucian shouts, grabbing Serafina and Hope, pushing them behind the bed just as the window explodes inward. Glass rains down like razors. The sound of gunfire punctuates screams. Lucian covers them with his body, feeling shrapnel bite into his back. Then, as quickly as it started, it stops. Security returns fire from the hallway. The shooter across the street retreats, disappearing into an alley. Lucian lifts his head, blood trickling from a cut above his eyebrow. Are you hurt? Serafina shakes her head, but Hope is crying. Loud, terrified wails that somehow sound like music, because they mean she's alive. Police sirens wail outside. Lucian helps Serafina to her feet, glass crunching beneath their shoes. Through the shattered window, smoke rises from the parking garage, black and toxic. He declared war, Serafina whispers, staring at the destruction. Lucian wipes blood from his face, his eyes hard as flint. Then we end it, tonight. In the chaos of evacuation, neither of them notices the news crews already arriving. Cameras capturing the smoking garage, the shattered hospital window, the dramatic rescue that just became an attempted assassination. The story isn't dying, it's mutating into something bigger, darker, impossible to contain. And somewhere in his downtown office, Cassian Vale watches the coverage with cold satisfaction, his phone already dialing the next phase of his revenge. Because if he can't have Serafina, no one will. especially not the ghost from her past who had the audacity to come back from the dead. Dahlia's penthouse has become a mausoleum of guilt and glass. She hasn't slept in 3 days, existing in a fugue state of wine, news coverage, and the photo of her brother that updates every 6 hours. Proof of life, proof of torture, proof that Cassian's leash tightens with every breath she takes. The latest photo arrived an hour ago. Marcus's face is swollen now, one eye sealed shut, blood crusting his lip. The timestamp mocks her. 72 hours in captivity. Time running out. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Her hands shake as she answers. "Hello, Dahlia." Cassian's voice is smooth, unhurried, the tone of a man who knows he's already won. "Have you been following the news?" "Yes." Her voice cracks. "Good, then you've seen how well my plan is working. Serafina's reputation is in ruins. D'Amato is exposed as the criminal he's always been, and He pauses for effect. "I'm the sympathetic victim, the betrayed husband. America loves a wronged man. You tried to kill her, the car bomb was nowhere near her room. Please give me some credit. I'm not trying to kill her. I'm trying to make her wish she'd died in that pool." His voice hardens. "But you're becoming a liability." Terror floods her veins. "I've done everything you asked. I haven't spoken to anyone, and yet your guilt is written all over your face. I've seen the photos. You, staring at the hospital on the news like a woman about to confess." He lets the threat simmer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to visit Serafina. Today. You're going to apologize, cry, play the remorseful accomplice, and you're going to wear a wire." "What? No, I can't." "You can, and you will. I need her to say something incriminating. An admission that she and D'Amato planned this, that she wanted out of our marriage and orchestrated the pool incident for sympathy." His voice drops to a whisper. "Get me that confession, and your brother goes free. Refuse, and his next photo will be his last." The line goes dead. Dahlia stares at her reflection in the window. Hollow eyes, skeletal frame. The ghost of the woman she used to be. She thinks about running, disappearing, starting over somewhere Cassian can't reach. But Marcus's face haunts every thought. She has one choice, and it's not really a choice at all. 2 hours later, Dahlia stands outside Serafina's new room, relocated after the shooting, higher security, armed guard at the door. She gives her name. The guard checks a list, frowns. "You're not approved." "Please." Dahlia's voice breaks authentically because every emotion is real now. "I just need 5 minutes. I need to apologize." The guard hesitates, then speaks into his radio. A moment later, he steps aside. 5 minutes, and I'm right outside." Dahlia enters, and her breath catches. Serafina sits in bed, holding hope, a bandage on her temple from flying glass. She looks exhausted, fragile, but when she sees Dahlia, her expression doesn't harden into hate. It softens into something worse, understanding. "I didn't think you'd come," Serafina says quietly. Dahlia's carefully prepared speech evaporates. "I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. I never wanted." The words tumble out, messy and desperate. "He said it would just scare you, make you look unstable. I didn't know you were going into labor. I didn't know he'd try to kill me?" Serafina finishes. "Twice now, if we're counting." Dahlia's knees buckle. She grabs the chair for support. "He has my brother. He's been torturing him, sending me photos. He said if I don't..." She can't finish. The wire beneath her blouse feels like fire against her skin. Serafina studies her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, she pats the bed beside her. "Sit down." Dahlia stares. "You should hate me." "I do, a little." Serafina shifts hope to one arm. "But I also understand what it's like to be trapped by a man who sees people as property, who uses love as a weapon and fear as currency." Dahlia sits, tears streaming now. "I pushed you. I put my hands on you and I pushed. I could have killed you, killed her." She looks at Hope, at the innocent life that almost ended because of her weakness. "But you didn't. We survived." Serafina's voice is steady, impossibly kind. "And now we have a choice. We can let him use us against each other, or we can stop being his victims and become his reckoning. He's too powerful, too connected. So is Lucian, and Lucian knows how to fight monsters because he used to be one." Serafina reaches out, takes Dahlia's hand. "You're not my enemy, Dahlia. He is. And if we work together, we can end this." The wire beneath Dahlia's blouse suddenly feels like a betrayal of the only person who's offered her grace. She thinks about Cassian listening, waiting for an admission that will never come. Then she thinks about Marcus, about the choice between two lives or one conscience. Her hand moves to her blouse, fingers trembling as she unbuttons it enough to reveal the wire taped to her skin. Serafina's eyes widen. "He wanted me to get you to confess," Dahlia whispers. "To say you planned this with Lucian, to give him leverage." She rips the wire off in one sharp motion, blood beading where the adhesive tears skin. "I can't do it. I can't hurt you again." She throws the wire to the floor, crushes it under her heel. Serafina stares at the destroyed device, then at Dahlia, and something shifts. An alliance forms in the space between women who've both been weapons aimed at each other's hearts. "Then let's give him what he wants," Serafina says slowly, a plan forming. But not the way he expects. Outside, in a car 3 blocks away, Cassian listens to static where Dahlia's confession should be. Then the audio cuts entirely. His jaw tightens. He dials the surveillance team. "What happened?" "Wire's been destroyed, sir. She found it." Cassian's fist slams into the dashboard. "Then we move to Phase 3. Send the message to Marcus's location. I want him to understand what failure costs." But before the order can be executed, Cassian's phone rings. Unknown number. He answers. "Who is this?" Lucian's voice comes through, cold and precise. "The man who's about to dismantle your empire piece by piece. And Cassian, your move with Dahlia's brother, I already made a counter move. He's safe. She's safe. And you're running out of hostages." The line goes dead. Cassian sits in his car, phone still pressed to his ear, and feels control slipping through his fingers like water through a drain. The women he tried to turn against each other just became allies. The enforcer he hired to kill D'Amato is missing. And somewhere in this city his secrets are being compiled into evidence that could destroy everything. For the first time in years, Cassian Vale feels something he thought he'd forgotten. Fear. Cassian Vale doesn't knock. Men like him stopped asking permission years ago. He storms into Serafina's hospital suite at 9 p.m., flanked by his lawyer and a private security consultant whose bulk suggests violence is always an option. The guard outside tried to stop him. "Sir, visiting hours are—" But Cassian's lawyer brandished court documents and the guard stepped aside. Serafina is awake, Hope in the bassinet beside her. Lucian stands at the window, but he turns when the door crashes open, his body instantly coiled for conflict. "Get out," Cassian says to Lucian, his voice dangerously calm. "This is between me and my wife." "Ex-wife," Serafina corrects quietly. "Or did your lawyer forget to mention I signed the papers this afternoon?" Cassian's mask slips for a second. Surprise, then fury. You can't make legal decisions without your permission? Serafina's laugh is brittle. I stopped needing your permission the moment you tried to kill me. I saved you from a life of mediocrity. Cassian's composure fractures. I gave you everything. Wealth, status, a name that meant something, and you repay me by fucking a criminal and passing off his bastard as mine? The word lands like a slap. Lucian moves forward, but Serafina raises a hand, stopping him. You gave me a prison with marble floors, she says, her voice steady as a blade. You gave me a life funded by blood money, and you tried to have me killed when I stopped being useful. You were always useful, as a trophy, as a tax write-off, as proof that Cassian Vale could have anything he wanted. His eyes shift to hope. Even her. I was willing to raise another man's child if it meant maintaining appearances. But you couldn't even give me that dignity. Lucian steps between Cassian and the bassinet. You need to leave. You think you're her savior? Cassian laughs, the sound empty and cruel. You're just another criminal who got lucky. The only difference between us is I hide my sins behind a corporation, and you hide yours behind a hero complex. The difference, Lucian says quietly, is I'm trying to be better. You're just trying to own everything you touch. Cassian's security consultant shifts his weight, hand moving toward his jacket. Lucian catches the movement, his eyes narrowing. Go ahead, Lucian says, his voice dropping into something darker. Your man reaches for that weapon, and I'll break his arm before he clears leather. Then I'll break yours. Then I'll break your lawyer's jaw for good measure, and I'll do it all before hospital security arrives. The room goes still. Cassian's consultant freezes, recognizing a threat that isn't empty. Cassian's fury reaches critical mass. You think you can steal my wife, my name, my reputation and just walk away? You think I'll just let you? You bought everything, Cassian, Lucian interrupts, his voice cutting clean as a scalpel. Except her soul. That was never yours to purchase. The words hit like bullets. Cassian lunges forward, fist cocked back, years of control finally snapping. Lucian sidesteps smoothly, redirects the momentum, and Cassian crashes into the bed frame. His lawyer grabs his arm, trying to pull him back. Mr. Vale, please, this isn't... Cassian shoves him off, turns back to Lucian. I will destroy you, both of you. I have resources you can't imagine, connections that go deeper than your pathetic syndicate. I will erase you from existence. You can try. Lucian's voice is calm, which makes it more terrifying. But you're going to fail, because you fight with money and I fight with purpose. And purpose always wins. Security finally arrives. 2 guards, hands on their tasers. Everyone needs to calm down, now. Cassian straightens his jacket, his breathing ragged. He looks at Serafina one last time, and for a moment, something almost human crosses his face. Regret, maybe. Or just the recognition of loss. You'll regret this, he tells her, both of you. I already regret ever meeting you, Serafina replies. But I'm done living in that regret. Get out of my life, Cassian, and stay out of my daughter's. Cassian's jaw tightens. He turns to leave, his entourage following. At the door, he pauses. This isn't over. Yes, Lucian says. It is, you just don't know it yet. The door slams. The silence that follows is deafening. Serafina exhales shakily. He meant every word. He's going to come after us with everything he has. Let him. Lucian moves to her side, his hand finding hers. We have something he doesn't. What's that? The truth, and people willing to tell it. On the chair where Dahlia sat earlier, hidden beneath a magazine, a small recording device blinks red. Still recording, capturing every threat, every admission, every moment of Cassian Vale's mask finally shattering. Dahlia installed it before she left, her final act of rebellion, her first act of redemption. And in her apartment across town, she listens through her phone to the conversation she just captured, tears streaming down her face as she realizes she finally has the weapon she needs, not to save herself, but to save them all. Dahlia's hands shake as she plays back the recording for the third time, ensuring every word is clear. Cassian's threats, his admission about the car bomb, his confession that he was willing to raise another man's child if it meant maintaining appearances. It's not just evidence. It's a grenade with his name engraved on the pin. She looks at her laptop, at the email draft she's composed to every major news outlet in the city. The subject line reads, "The truth about Cassian Vale." The body contains a single line. He tried to kill his wife. Here's the proof. Her cursor hovers over the send button. If she does this, there's no going back. Cassian will know she betrayed him. Her brother, if he's even still alive, might pay the price. She might pay the price, but if she doesn't... Serafina's face flashes in her mind, the grace she showed, the forgiveness she offered. You're not my enemy, he is. Dahlia's finger comes down on the button. Sent. She closes the laptop, pours herself a drink with trembling hands, and waits for the world to explode. It takes 17 minutes. The first outlet to run the story is a local news blog known for breaking scandals. Exclusive. Cassian Vale caught on tape threatening ex-wife. They embed the audio, letting Cassian's own words condemn him. Then the dominoes fall. Twitter lights up within seconds. The hashtag Cassian Vale exposed trends in under an hour. Verified accounts share the story, adding their own commentary. Journalists who've been quietly investigating Vale's empire suddenly have the smoking gun they needed. By 11 p.m., every major network is running the story. Cable news panels dissect the audio. Legal analysts discuss potential charges: blackmail, conspiracy, attempted murder. Tech reporters dig into Vale Enterprises' financials, discovering irregularities that suddenly make sense in the context of Lucian's revelation about laundered money. The empire doesn't crumble. It implodes. Vale Enterprises' stock plummets. Board members issue statements distancing themselves. Investors file lawsuits. Partners terminate contracts. Within hours, Cassian Vale transforms from tech mogul to cautionary tale. And in her hospital room, Serafina watches the coverage with something between horror and relief. Lucian stands beside her, phone pressed to his ear. He's been on calls for the past hour. Enzo, lawyers, contacts he hasn't spoken to in years. When he finally hangs up, he turns to her. It's done. The syndicate's cutting ties with Cassian. They can't afford the exposure. And the feds... they've been building a case against him for months. This audio just gave them everything they needed. Dahlia did this. Serafina's voice is soft with wonder. She saved us. She saved herself, too, from becoming what he wanted her to be. Lucien sits on the edge of the bed. This ends tonight. No more running, no more hiding. He's going down, and we get to watch. Serafina reaches for his hand. What happens after, when it's over? We live. Actually live, not just survive. Lucian's voice carries a fragility she's never heard before. If you want that, if you want me, I've always wanted you. The admission comes easier than she expected. From the moment you pulled me from that van 8 years ago, I just didn't think I was allowed to want something real. Their foreheads touch, a moment of peace in the eye of the storm. On the television, Cassian's face fills the screen. A photo from better days, when he smiled like a man who owned the world. The chyron beneath reads, "Moguls fall from grace. Where is Cassian Vale?" The answer comes at midnight. Dahlia's phone buzzes. Unknown number. She answers with dread coating her throat. "You destroyed me." Cassian's voice is hollow, emptied of everything but disbelief. "I gave you everything, and you destroyed me." "You destroyed yourself," Dahlia says, her voice stronger than she feels. "I just made sure everyone else could see it. Marcus is dead because of you." The words stop her heart. "What? Did you think I'd just let him go? Did you think there wouldn't be consequences?" His laugh is broken glass. "I gave the order an hour ago. By now, You're lying." But her voice shakes. "Am I? Check your messages." The line goes dead. Dahlia's phone immediately buzzes with a new message. She opens it, blood draining from her face. But it's not a photo of Marcus dead. It's a photo of Marcus, bruised, exhausted, but alive, standing next to Enzo in what looks like a safe house. The message reads, "Your brother is safe. Vale was bluffing. LD." Dahlia collapses to her knees, sobbing with relief so intense it physically hurts. Cassian tried to break her one last time. But Lucian anticipated it, moved first, saved the last hostage before Cassian could kill him. The war is over, and Cassian lost everything, including his final leverage. In his downtown office, Cassian sits in the dark, bottle of whiskey on his desk, watching his empire dissolve on every screen. His phone rings with calls he won't answer. His email overflows with resignations and lawsuits. His reflection in the dark window shows a stranger, a man who built everything on sand and is now watching the tide come in. Tomorrow, the police will come. The feds will come. The reckoning he tried to delay with money and violence will finally arrive. But tonight, in this moment, he's just a man sitting in the ruins of his own design, finally understanding that some things, love, loyalty, souls, can't be bought, only earned. And he never learned the difference. The press conference is scheduled for 10 a.m. at Vale Enterprises headquarters. Cassian's PR team spent all night crafting the narrative. Wronged husband. Malicious ex-wife, doctored recordings. They've lined up character witnesses, prepared statements, bought enough goodwill to weather the storm. At least that's the plan. Cassian stands behind the podium, cameras flashing, reporters packed into every inch of the conference room. He's wearing his best suit, armor disguised as fashion, and his expression is carefully calibrated. Humble, wounded, determined. "Thank you all for coming," he begins, his voice smooth despite the sleepless night. "I know the past 24 hours have been confusing and painful for everyone involved. I want to address the allegations directly and honestly." He pauses, letting the moment breathe. His lawyer stands to the side, nodding encouragement. "The recording you've all heard was taken out of context. In a moment of extreme emotional distress, after discovering my wife's infidelity, I said things I regret, but those words were twisted, edited." "Mr. Vale," a reporter interrupts, "can you explain your business relationship with Victor Costa and the Palermo Syndicate?" Cassian's composure flickers. "I don't know what you're referring to." Financial records show regular wire transfers to shell companies linked to organized crime. Millions of dollars over 6 years. His lawyer steps forward. This press conference is about personal matters, not unsubstantiated financial. The conference room doors burst open. Federal agents flood in, badges held high, movements precise and practiced. The lead agent, a woman in her 40s with steel-gray eyes, approaches the podium. Cassian Vale, you're under arrest for money laundering, wire fraud, blackmail, conspiracy to commit murder, and violation of the RICO Act. The room explodes. Cameras surge forward. Reporters shout questions. Cassian stands frozen, his brain unable to process the script flipping this dramatically. There must be some mistake, his lawyer stammers. We weren't notified. The warrants were sealed until this moment. The agent produces handcuffs. Mr. Vale, put your hands behind your back. This is absurd. Cassian's voice rises, panic finally breaking through. You can't just... We have 17 witnesses, 400 pages of financial records, and recordings of you ordering hits on multiple individuals. The agent's voice is ice. You're done, Mr. Vale. Hands. Now. Cassian looks at the cameras, at the reporters, at the empire he built now crumbling in high definition. For a moment, he considers running, fighting something, but the agent's hands are already on him, guiding him into cuffs with professional efficiency. As they lead him toward the door, his eyes find the camera broadcasting live to every network. He wants to say something, proclaim his innocence, threaten revenge, maintain the facade. But his lawyer's hand on his arm stops him. Don't say anything, not a word. They walk him through the lobby, past employees who avert their eyes, past the receptionist who used to smile at him every morning. Outside, the scene is chaos. News vans, protesters, onlookers filming on their phones. At the back of the crowd, almost invisible, Dahlia watches. She's wearing sunglasses despite the overcast sky, her hair pulled back, posture small. When Cassian is loaded into the federal vehicle, she allows herself the smallest smile. Then she turns and walks away, disappearing into the city like smoke. At the precinct, in a conference room that smells like coffee and consequence, Dahlia sits across from two detectives. She's been there for 3 hours, telling them everything. The push, Cassian's blackmail, Marcus's kidnapping, the wire she planted. Why didn't you come forward sooner? One detective asks, not unkindly. Because I was afraid and ashamed and trapped. Dahlia's voice is hoarse from talking. But mostly because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Men like Cassian, they don't face consequences. Except sometimes they do. The detective slides a form across the table. This is immunity in exchange for your testimony. You'll still face potential charges for assault, but given the circumstances and your cooperation. Dahlia signs without hesitation. Her freedom, bought with truth. It's not forgiveness. She doesn't deserve that yet. But it's a start. When she emerges from the precinct hours later, the sun is setting. She expects cameras, reporters, judgment. Instead, she finds Serafina waiting by the steps, hope in a carrier against her chest. You didn't have to come, Dahlia says, shocked. Yes, I did. Serafina studies her for a moment. What you did took courage. I wanted you to know that. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not, but I'm giving it anyway. Serafina shifts hope slightly. Forgiveness isn't about what people deserve. It's about what we choose to carry, and I'm tired of carrying hate. Dahlia's eyes fill with tears. What happens now? To us, I mean. We heal. Separately, probably, but knowing we both survived him. Serafina offers a small smile. That has to count for something. They stand there for a moment. Two women who were weapons in a man's war, now just women trying to build peace from the rubble. Then cameras appear, reporters rushing toward them, questions flying like arrows. Mrs. Vale. Was Lucian D'Amato your lover before your husband? Ms. Quinn, are you cooperating with authorities? How do you both feel about Mr. Vale's arrest? Serafina straightens, adjusting hope, and faces the cameras with the kind of grace that can't be bought or broken. Dahlia stands beside her, not behind, not separate, but beside, and for the first time in weeks, doesn't shrink from the attention. Whatever story these cameras tell, whatever headlines tomorrow brings, they'll face it the same way they survived Cassian. Together, and stronger than anyone expected. The cameras swarm like locusts, lenses glinting in the late afternoon sun. Reporters shout over each other, their questions designed to wound, to expose, to reduce complexity into sound bites. Mrs. Vale, was Lucian D'Amato your lover before your husband? Did you plan the pool incident together? Are you responsible for Mr. Vale's arrest? Serafina stands at the top of the precinct steps, Dahlia beside her, and feels the weight of every eye, every judgment, every preconception pressing down like gravity. She could run, could hide, could let their narrative become her truth. Instead, she steps forward. Lucian D'Amato was not my lover, she says, her voice clear and unwavering. The crowd quiets, sensing something authentic in the silence between words. He was my savior 8 years ago, when I was taken, when I was terrified and alone. He chose mercy over orders. He saved my life at the cost of his own safety. And 3 weeks ago, he did it again. A reporter pushes forward. But the child, Hope, the paternity tests show that she's his daughter? Yes. Serafina doesn't flinch. Conceived from a single night when I finally allowed myself to feel something real instead of something purchased. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm ashamed I spent years in a marriage built on lies, funded by crime, sustained by fear. Do you love him? Someone shouts. Serafina pauses, and in that pause, the crowd holds its breath. Yes, she says simply. I always have. I just forgot I was allowed to. Movement behind her. The precinct doors open. Lucian emerges, carrying Hope in his arms, the baby wrapped in a soft pink blanket. He's wearing the same clothes from 2 days ago, rumpled, tired, but his eyes are clear, purposeful. The cameras explode into motion, flashes turning the moment into strobe-lit chaos. But Lucian's focus never wavers from Serafina. He stops beside her, Hope nestled against his chest, and in that formation, father, mother, daughter, they become something the cameras can't reduce. Not a scandal, not a headline, just a family forged in fire and somehow still standing. Any comment, Mr. D'Amato? A reporter yells. Lucian looks directly into the nearest camera. I spent 8 years trying to outrun my past, trying to become someone worthy of redemption. His voice is rough but steady. Then she fell, and I realized I'd been running toward her the whole time. Every choice, every sacrifice, every moment of trying to be better, it was all leading back to this, to her, to us. Are you together now? Another reporter asks. Serafina reaches for Lucian's free hand. Their fingers intertwine, and the gesture is more intimate than any kiss could be. We're here, she says. That's enough for now. They descend the steps together, Dahlia following a few paces behind, her own cameras, her own reckoning, but no longer alone in facing it. Security personnel create a corridor through the crowd, but it's narrow, claustrophobic, filled with shouted questions that blur into white noise. How do you respond to claims you're a gold digger? Will you testify against your husband? What about the mob connections? Lucian leans close to Serafina's ear. We can leave the city. Start over somewhere they'll never find us. No more running, she whispers back. We tell our story our way, or we let them right it wrong. I'm tired of hiding. They reach the waiting car, a modest sedan, nothing like the luxury Serafina lived in for years. Lucian opens the door, helps her inside, then carefully positions Hope in the car seat they installed that morning. His hands are gentle, practiced, as if he's been doing this for years instead of days. Dahlia appears at the window. "Thank you," she says, her voice barely audible over the chaos, "for not hating me." Serafina meets her eyes. "Thank you for finally choosing the right side." "Will I?" Dahlia's voice breaks. "Will I ever be okay again?" "I don't know," Serafina says honestly. "But you have a chance now. That's more than you had yesterday." Dahlia nods, steps back, and watches as the car pulls away from the curb. The cameras chase it for half a block before giving up, returning to feast on whatever crumbs remain. Inside the car, silence settles like dust after an explosion. Hope sleeps peacefully, unaware of the storm she was born into. Serafina leans her head against the window, watching the city blur past. "Where are we going?" she asks. Lucian keeps his eyes on the road. Somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, somewhere we can figure out what comes next. And what does come next? He glances at her, and for the first time since the pool, he smiles. Small, genuine, carrying hope instead of grief. We live. We heal. We build something real from all this wreckage. You make it sound simple. It won't be. We're both wounded, both carrying scars that won't fade. His hand finds hers on the console. But we're free. For the first time in 8 years, we're both finally free. Serafina squeezes his hand, feeling the calluses, the strength, the gentleness that somehow coexist in the same grip. Free and together. Free and together, he echoes. Behind them, the city recedes, the precinct, the cameras, the chaos. Ahead, the road stretches into uncertainty, into possibility, into a future they'll write themselves. They drive into the fading light, leaving the past in ruins behind them, carrying only what matters. Each other, their daughter, and the fragile, stubborn belief that sometimes love survives everything meant to destroy it. And sometimes that's enough. Vale Enterprises collapses faster than it was built. The federal investigation uncovers a labyrinth of shell companies, laundered funds, and connections to organized crime that go back a decade. Board members resign. Shareholders file lawsuits. Partners sever contracts with the kind of speed that reveals they suspected all along but profited anyway. Within 2 weeks, the company files for bankruptcy. The stock becomes worthless. Employees, hundreds of them, lose their jobs, their retirement funds, their faith in institutions. The Vale mansion is seized as part of asset forfeiture. Serafina watches the news coverage from a small apartment Lucian rented on the quiet side of town. 2 bedrooms, aging carpet, windows that don't quite seal against the cold. It's a universe away from marble floors and chandeliers, but when Hope cries at 3 a.m., it's Lucian who wakes first, bottle already warming, and that matters more than square footage ever could. On the screen, federal agents carry boxes from her former home. Evidence, records. The material remains of a life she's already mourned. "Do you miss it?" Lucian asks, standing in the kitchen doorway with coffee. Serafina considers the question honestly. "I miss the illusion of safety, the idea that money could build walls high enough. She accepts the coffee, their fingers brushing. But I don't miss him, and I don't miss who I had to be to survive him. Who were you? Small, quiet, decorative. She sips the coffee. Cheap, bitter, perfect. I was a thing he owned, not a person he knew, and I let myself become that because it felt safer than being real. Lucian sits beside her on the worn couch. You're real now. So are the consequences. She gestures at the television. People lost their jobs because of him. Families lost their savings, and I benefited from all of it. Wore the clothes, attended the galas, smiled for the cameras. You didn't know. Ignorance doesn't erase complicity. Her voice is heavy with a guilt that won't dissolve easily. I have to live with that. We both do. The news shifts to another story. Dahlia Quinn entering a rehabilitation facility in upstate New York, her face obscured by sunglasses and a hood. The chyron reads, Veil Mistress seeks treatment after testimony. She's trying, Serafina murmurs. That counts for something. Does it count enough? Lucian asks, not argumentatively, but genuinely curious about her calculus of forgiveness. It's a start. Redemption isn't a moment. It's 1,000 small choices to be better than yesterday. She looks at him pointedly. You taught me that. Lucian stands abruptly, the compliment sitting uncomfortably on him like an ill-fitting coat. I need to go somewhere. Handle something. Where? The past. Won't take long. He leaves before she can ask more questions, and Serafina is left with hope, the television, and the unsettling knowledge that some ghosts need to be faced alone. Lucian drives to the old neighborhood, the one he left 8 years ago when he decided the Raven needed to die. The streets haven't changed much. Same cracked sidewalks, same corner store with bars on the windows, same men lingering in doorways with the kind of eyes that have seen everything and forgotten nothing. He parks outside a warehouse that used to serve as a syndicate front. It's abandoned now, windows shattered, graffiti covering every surface. But the memories cling to it like smoke. Inside, the space echoes. Lucian walks through it slowly, seeing ghosts in every corner. The table where they planned jobs, the back room where they counted money, the spot where he once broke a man's arm for skimming profits. The past doesn't vanish, he says to the empty room, his voice carrying. But it can bow. He pulls out his phone, takes a photo of the space, evidence of what he was, what he left behind. Then he sends a text to Enzo, thinking of buying this place, converting it into something useful. Community center maybe, job training, help people avoid the paths we took. The response comes quickly. You sure you're ready to go legit, no half measures? Lucian types, half measures got me nowhere, time to commit. I'll make some calls. You'll need investors who don't ask questions about your resume. I'm done with people who don't ask questions. From now on, everything's transparent. A long pause, then, you've changed, Raven. Not sure if that's good or stupid. Maybe both. But it's real. Lucian pockets his phone and takes one last look at the warehouse. This building, this monument to everything he's trying to leave behind, will either rot into nothing or become something that matters. The choice is his. He chooses transformation. On the drive back, he passes billboards advertising luxury apartments, high-end cars, the kind of lifestyle Cassian Vale sold as happiness. They feel hollow now, like promises made by people who've never actually been happy. When he returns to the small apartment, Serafina is on the floor with Hope, stacking blocks that Hope immediately knocks down with delighted squeals. The scene is so domestic, so beautifully mundane, that Lucian pauses in the doorway just to memorize it. "You okay?" Serafina asks, looking up. "Yeah." He joins them on the floor, helps rebuild the block tower. "Just making peace with who I was so I can be who I want to be." "And who's that?" Lucian watches Hope grab a block with her tiny fist, determined and fearless. Someone worthy of this, of you, of her. "You already are," Serafina says softly. "Not yet, but I'm working on it." They sit together in their small apartment with worn carpet and drafty windows, building block towers for a baby who only knows how to knock them down, and somehow it feels like exactly where they're supposed to be. Outside, the ashes of their old lives continue to scatter in the wind, but inside, something new is taking root. Fragile, stubborn, and surprisingly resilient. Like everything that survives fire. 6 months later, the pool that almost became Serafina's grave has been drained, cleaned, and transformed into something impossible. A greenhouse. Glass panels arch overhead, creating a cathedral of light. The turquoise tiles remain, but now they're covered with soil beds bursting with roses. Red, white, pink, yellow. Each one a defiant claim that beauty can grow in the places where trauma once lived. Serafina kneels among the flowers, pruning shears in hand, dirt under her fingernails. She's wearing jeans and a simple shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. No designer gowns, no jewelry beyond a simple watch. She looks nothing like the woman who walked these grounds 6 months ago, and everything like the woman she was always meant to be. A rose thorn catches her thumb. She hisses, brings it to her mouth, tastes copper and earth. "You okay?" Lucian's voice echoes through the greenhouse. She turns. He's standing at the entrance, Hope balanced on his hip. The baby is bigger now, chubby-cheeked and curious, reaching for the flowers with grabbing hands. "Just a reminder that beautiful things still have edges," Serafina says, showing him the small bead of blood. Lucian approaches carefully, navigating the narrow paths between soil beds. Hope babbles, pointing at a cluster of pink roses. "Flower!" "That's right, Principessa. Flowers." Lucian settles beside Serafina, letting Hope explore while staying close enough to catch her if she topples. Serafina watches them together, this man who once dealt in violence now speaking softly to a toddler about petals and stems, and feels something shift in her chest. Not new love. The love was always there, but new trust, new certainty. "Do you ever regret diving in?" she asks, the question emerging softer than she intended. Lucian looks at her fully, and his expression carries the weight of everything. The rescue, the revelations, the rebuilding. "Every day, I regret something." Her stomach drops. "Oh, I regret that I didn't find you sooner." His voice is rough with honesty. "I regret the 8 years I wasted trying to be good enough for a memory instead of fighting to make the memory real. I regret that Hope's first 6 months were filled with chaos instead of peace." He reaches out, tucks a strand of hair behind Serafina's ear. "But diving in? Pulling you out of that water? That's the one thing I'd do exactly the same, 1,000 times over." Serafina's eyes burn with tears she doesn't try to hide. "I was so scared. When I fell, when the water closed over me, I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. But it wasn't an ending. No, it was a beginning disguised as a drowning." She looks around the greenhouse, at the life growing where death almost won. "Sometimes I come out here at night, look at where I fell, and I can't believe I'm still here." "You're stronger than you think." "We're stronger than we thought," she corrects. Alone, I would have drowned. Alone, you would have stayed in the shadows. But together... Hope interrupts by shoving a fistful of rose petals in her mouth. Lucian gently extracts them while Serafina laughs, and the moment is so ordinary, so beautifully mundane, that it feels like a miracle. She's going to be a handful, Lucian says, wiping drool from Hope's chin. She's her father's daughter. Serafina's smile is pure mischief. Stubborn, protective, and occasionally reckless. I was going to say she has her mother's determination and grace. Let's compromise. She has the worst and best of both of us. They sit among the roses, Hope between them, examining leaves and petals with the kind of focused curiosity only toddlers possess. The greenhouse smells like earth and growth, and the particular sweetness of flowers that have been coaxed into bloom by patient hands. Above them, through the glass panels, clouds drift across a blue sky. The same sky that watched Serafina fall. The same sky that witnessed Lucian dive. But the story beneath it is different now. Not tragedy, but transformation. I want to open this to the public, Serafina says suddenly. The greenhouse. Make it a community space. Somewhere people can come to grow things, learn things, heal. Lucian considers this. You sure? This place holds a lot of your trauma. Exactly. If I can turn my trauma into something that helps others, then maybe it wasn't wasted. She touches a rose bloom, feeling the softness. Maybe that's what redemption looks like, taking the worst moments and planting flowers in them. You'd need funding, insurance, staff. I have an idea about that. She pulls out her phone, shows him a proposal she's been working on. A nonprofit, horticultural therapy for trauma survivors. We use this space as the flagship, then expand to other communities. Lucian reads through the document, his expression shifting from surprise to pride. You wrote this? I had a lot of time to think. A lot of time to figure out who I am when I'm not being who someone else needs me to be. She meets his eyes. I want to build something that matters. Something clean. Something real. Then we build it together. Together, she echoes, and the word feels like a vow. Hope, bored with petals, starts crawling toward a watering can. Lucian scoops her up before she can knock it over, earning an indignant squeal. Come on, Trouble. Let's give your mama some time with her flowers. As they head toward the entrance, Serafina calls out, Lucian? He turns. Thank you for diving in, for staying, for being exactly who you are. His smile is soft, carrying 8 years of longing and 6 months of learning how to be happy. Thank you for letting me. They leave her to the roses, and Serafina kneels again in the soil, hands working, mind planning, heart healing one flower at a time. Outside, the courtyard is filling with evening light. The fairy lights from that terrible gala are gone, replaced by solar lanterns that glow gently as dusk approaches. It's the same space, but it breathes differently now. Less performance, more peace. Serafina finishes her pruning, gathers the clippings, and takes one last look at the greenhouse before heading inside. Through the glass, she can see Lucian in the kitchen, Hope in a high chair, both of them covered in what looks like applesauce. She laughs, full, genuine, the kind of sound that used to get trapped in her throat during her marriage but now flows freely. Then she walks toward them, toward the mess, and the love, and the beautifully imperfect life they're building together, one moment at a time. And the roses behind her continue to bloom, indifferent to the tragedy that once soaked these tiles, interested only in reaching toward the light. The letter arrives on a Tuesday afternoon, delivered by standard mail with a return address from a correctional facility in upstate New York. Serafina almost doesn't open it. She's learned to be wary of unexpected correspondence, but something about the handwriting stops her. Careful, deliberate, slightly shaky, as if written by someone relearning how to hold a pen. She opens it, standing at the kitchen counter, Hope napping in the next room, Lucian out handling permits for the greenhouse project. The paper is standard prison issue, thin, lined, institutional, but the words are anything but standard. Dear Serafina, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you should. But my therapist says writing letters, even ones that might never be answered, is part of making amends. So here I am, trying to figure out how to apologize for the unforgivable. I pushed you. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again, permanently, where it can't be unsaid. I put my hands on you when you were pregnant and vulnerable, and I pushed. That wasn't Cassian's fault, though I let him manipulate me. It wasn't your fault, though I tried to blame you for existing in a space I wanted to occupy. It was mine, my choice, my hands, my sin. The therapist says I need to accept that some actions can't be undone, only carried. So I'm carrying it. Every morning when I wake up, I remember the moment you fell, the look on your face, the scream that cut through the music. I carry that, and I will carry it for the rest of my life. But here's what I'm learning, slowly. Carrying guilt and letting it crush you are different things. I can hold myself accountable without holding myself hostage. I can work toward redemption even if I never fully reach it. You said forgiveness is rebirth. I'm holding on to that like a lifeline. I hope I'm still capable of being born again. Some days I believe it. Other days, I just survive. But survival is its own kind of bravery, right? Marcus visits once a month. He's doing better. Therapy, new job, sober for 5 months now. We don't talk about Cassian. We don't talk about that night. We just sit together and remember that we're both still here, still breathing, still trying. I heard about the greenhouse, about your nonprofit proposal. It's beautiful, taking the place where you almost died and turning it into somewhere people can heal. I wish I had your strength, but maybe watching you find yours will teach me how to find mine. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that your grace, the way you looked at me in that hospital room and saw a person instead of a villain, changed something in me. It gave me permission to try being human again. So thank you for not hating me the way I hated myself, for showing me that broken people can still choose to be better. I hope Hope is thriving. I hope Lucian is treating you the way you deserve. I hope your roses bloom in every season and your greenhouse becomes a sanctuary for everyone who needs it. And I hope someday I can walk through those doors not as the woman who pushed you, but as the woman who learned to stand up. With regret, remorse, and fragile hope, Dahlia Serafina reads the letter twice, then a third time. Her eyes blur with tears, not from sadness exactly, but from the complicated weight of witnessing someone try to claw their way out of their own darkness. She folds the letter carefully, places it in a drawer beside other important documents. Hope's birth certificate, the greenhouse plans, the divorce papers that finally freed her from Cassian's name. Then she pulls out stationery, simple, cream-colored, and begins to write. Dear Dahlia, I read your letter, every word. You're right. You can't undo what you did. But you can decide who you become in spite of it. Forgiveness isn't something I can give you like a gift. It's something you earn through the hard, unglamorous work of being better today than yesterday. But here's what I can offer. Witness. I see you trying. I see you carrying your guilt without letting it define you. I see you choosing growth over despair. That matters. It doesn't erase anything, but it matters. The greenhouse opens next month. You're not ready to visit. maybe you never will be. But if there comes a day when you want to see what grew from the ashes, the door will be open, not as absolution, as possibility. Keep surviving, Dahlia. Keep trying, keep becoming, and know that somewhere, a woman you once hurt is rooting for you to find your way. Serafina. She seals the envelope, addresses it, and places it in the outgoing mail. When Lucian returns an hour later, he finds her still at the counter, staring out the window at the greenhouse glinting in afternoon sun. "You okay?" he asks, setting down grocery bags. "Dahlia wrote to me, from prison." Lucian stills. And she's trying, really trying, not performing redemption for sympathy, but actually doing the work. How do you feel about that? Serafina considers the question. Hopeful. Not for her and me to be friends. I don't know if that's possible. But hopeful that people can change, that mistakes don't have to be tombstones. Lucian wraps his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. "You're more forgiving than I'd be." "No, I'm just tired of letting anger take up space that could be used for something better." She leans into him. "Besides, if I can forgive myself for the years I spent complicit in Cassian's world, I can extend that same grace to someone who was as trapped as I was." They stand together in the kitchen, watching Hope sleep through the baby monitor, listening to the ordinary sounds of life continuing despite everything that tried to stop it. And in a prison cell 3 hours north, Dahlia receives Serafina's response 2 weeks later. She reads it alone, in the quiet before lights out, and for the first time in months, allows herself to believe that broken things can heal if you're patient enough to hold the pieces together while they mend. It won't be easy, it won't be fast, but it might be possible. And possibility, she's learning, is where everything begins. The journalist arrives on a cool autumn morning, exactly 1 year after the pool incident. Her name is Maya Chen, and she spent the past decade building a reputation for telling stories that matter. Survivors, not victims. Complexity, not clickbait. Serafina greets her at the greenhouse entrance, Hope toddling beside her in overalls covered in dirt. "Thank you for agreeing to this," Maya says, shaking Serafina's hand. "I almost didn't." Serafina's smile is warm but guarded. "But I'm tired of other people telling my story wrong. Better to tell it myself." They settle in a corner of the greenhouse where seating has been arranged. Simple wooden chairs, a small table with tea. Around them, roses bloom in impossible profusion, their scent thick and sweet. Maya sets up her recorder. The piece is titled "The Woman Who Rose from the Water." We'll cover the incident, yes, but I want to focus on what came after. The rebuilding. The greenhouse. Your nonprofit. May I? Serafina nods. The recorder clicks on. "Let's start with the night itself," Maya begins gently. "What do you remember most clearly?" Serafina is quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "The cold. The water was colder than I expected. And the fear, not just for myself, but for my baby. In that moment, falling felt like failing her before she even had a chance. But someone pulled you out." "Lucian, yes." Serafina's voice softens, saying his name. "He didn't hesitate, didn't calculate, just dove." "There's been a lot of speculation about your relationship with Mr. D'Amato, that you were lovers before your marriage, that the pool incident was staged. None of that is true." Serafina's voice is firm but not defensive. "Lucian saved me 8 years ago from a kidnapping. We connected in that moment, 2 people recognizing something real in each other, but then he disappeared. He thought leaving was how he protected me, and maybe it was, for a while. But he came back, No. I fell, and he happened to be there. Pure chance. Or fate, or whatever you want to call the universe deciding that some stories aren't finished yet. Serafina touches a rose bloom absently. The truth is less dramatic than the tabloids wanted. Two broken people found each other again at the exact moment they both needed saving. That's it. No conspiracy, just collision. Maya leans forward. What do you want people to understand about that night? Serafina considers this. Really considers it. That drowning isn't always literal. I'd been drowning for years in a marriage built on lies, in a life that looked perfect but felt empty. The pool just made it visible. And now, a year later, now I'm learning to swim. Serafina gestures around the greenhouse. This space almost killed me, but I refused to let it keep that power, so I turned it into something that gives life instead of taking it, roses instead of wreckage. The nonprofit has been incredibly successful. Waitlists for your therapy programs, funding from major foundations. How does that feel? Surreal, but right. Serafina watches Hope chase a butterfly through the flower beds. Trauma tried to break me. I'm using the cracks to let light through. If that helps even one person feel less alone, then maybe the fall was worth it. Do you forgive Dahlia Quinn, the woman who pushed you? The question lands heavy. Serafina is silent for a long moment. I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, it's a muscle you exercise. Some days I'm stronger than others. She meets Maya's eyes. But I refuse to let hate own space in my life anymore. There's too much to build, too much to nurture. Hate is a weed, and I'm cultivating a garden. Maya scribbles notes. Last question. What do you want your daughter to know about this story when she's old enough to understand? Serafina looks at Hope, who's now presenting her with a crumpled flower, face beaming with pride. I want her to know that her mother fell, but didn't drown, that her father dove in without thinking of the cost, that love, real love, isn't about perfection or performance. It's about showing up in the darkest moments and choosing each other anyway. Her voice thickens with emotion. And I want her to know that she was born from chaos and carried through fire, but none of that defines her. She gets to write her own story. Maya clicks off the recorder. That's beautiful, thank you. Will you write it honestly? Not sensationalized? That's the only way I know how. Maya stands, gathering her equipment. One more thing, off the record. The title, The Woman Who Rose from the Water. Do you like it? Serafina smiles. Change it to The Woman Who Rose from the Water, but didn't rise alone. Why? Because I didn't. Someone dived in first, and that matters. The diving always matters. The article publishes 2 weeks later in a major magazine with national reach. It's honest, nuanced, refusing easy villains or simple redemptions. It talks about trauma and healing, about second chances and hard-won grace. The pull quote goes viral within hours. I didn't rise alone. Someone dived in first. That's what love is. Not the absence of drowning, but the presence of someone who refuses to let you sink. Social media explodes. The quote is shared across platforms, turned into artwork, tattooed on skin, whispered in therapy sessions. It becomes a touchstone for survivors of domestic violence, of trauma, of any situation where rescue came from unexpected places. Serafina's nonprofit receives hundreds of applications. Donations flood in. Survivors reach out, sharing their own stories of falling and being caught. And in their small apartment, Lucian reads the article on his phone while Hope naps on his chest. When he reaches the pull quote, his eyes burn. Serafina emerges from the bedroom, sees his expression. You okay? You gave me too much credit. I gave you exactly what you deserve." She sits beside him, their shoulders touching. "You taught me that saving someone isn't a one-time act. It's a choice you make every day. You've chosen me every day for a year. That's not too much credit. That's just truth." Lucien kisses her forehead, careful not to wake hope. "Then we're even. Because you saved me too." "How?" "By letting me be more than my worst moment. By seeing who I was trying to become instead of who I used to be." His voice is rough with honesty. "You gave me a reason to be better. That's salvation, Serafina. That's grace." They sit together in comfortable silence, Hope sleeping, the article glowing on the phone screen between them, and outside, the world reads their story and decides, maybe just for today, to believe in second chances. Lucien brings Serafina back to the courtyard on a Thursday evening, exactly 13 months after the night everything changed. The fairy lights are different now, softer, warmer, but the layout is the same. The pool-turned greenhouse glows from within, roses visible through the glass. "Why are we here?" Serafina asks, though something in her tone suggests she already suspects. "Because this is where it started. Felt right that it's where we begin again." Lucien's hand is warm in hers, steady despite the nerves she can feel thrumming beneath his skin. They walk to the edge of the greenhouse, and Serafina notices details she missed before. Candles placed carefully along the paths, music playing softly, not the stiff classical from the gala, but something gentler. A single table set for two, Hope already asleep at a friend's house for the evening. "Lucien, what is this?" He guides her to where she fell, the exact spot, though it's transformed now. Where turquoise water once waited, roses bloom in spiral patterns. Beautiful, intentional, alive. "The night you fell," Lucien begins, his voice steady but vulnerable. "I realized I'd been falling for years. Falling away from the life I was supposed to want. Falling toward something I couldn't name, but always felt." He turns to face her fully. "Then I saw you, really saw you, and I realized what I'd been falling toward all along. You. This. Us." Serafina's breath catches. Around them, the greenhouse glows like a sanctuary, roses nodding in the evening breeze that filters through open panels. "I spent 8 years trying to earn the right to stand next to you, trying to become someone worthy of the grace you showed me in that van, of the chance you gave me when you kissed me goodbye." His hands find hers, trembling slightly. "But I realize now that worthiness isn't something you achieve. It's something you prove every day by showing up, by choosing love over fear, by diving in even when you don't know if you'll survive the fall." "Lucien, let me finish, please." He takes a breath, steadying himself. "You saved me, Serafina. Not the other way around. You looked at a man covered in blood and bad choices and saw something worth saving. You took my daughter and loved her before she was even born. You turned the place that almost killed you into something that heals others." His voice cracks. "You taught me that redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about building a future that matters more." Tears stream down Serafina's face, catching candlelight. "So I'm asking, here, in this place where we both almost drowned, will you let me keep falling with you? Not away, not alone, but together toward whatever comes next." He releases one hand to reach into his pocket, pulling out a ring. Simple, elegant, a single stone that catches light like water. "Will you marry me?" The question hangs in the air between them, fragile and enormous. Serafina looks at the ring, then at Lucien, then at the greenhouse around them, this monument to transformation, to taking the worst moment and making it matter. She thinks about the year they've survived, the chaos, the rebuilding, the 1,000 small moments of choosing each other when it would have been easier to run. "Yes," she whispers, then louder, "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." Lucian slides the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. It fits perfectly, like maybe some things are meant to find each other despite every reason they shouldn't. Then he's kissing her, and she's kissing him back, and the greenhouse seems to shimmer around them, roses blooming impossibly brighter, as if the universe itself is celebrating this moment where two broken people decide to build something whole. When they finally pull apart, Serafina laughs, wet, joyful, free. "You proposed in the place where I almost died. I proposed in the place where we both started living." Lucian wipes tears from her cheeks with his thumbs. Seemed appropriate. "It's perfect, absolutely, ridiculously perfect." She looks at the ring, at how it catches candlelight. How did you, 3 months ago, been carrying it around, waiting for the right moment?" He grins sheepishly. "Enzo said I was overthinking it, that I should just ask, but I wanted it to mean something. It means everything." Serafina pulls him close, forehead resting against his. "We're really doing this, building a life together, getting married." "Getting married," he echoes, like he's testing the words, finding them solid. "You sure you want to be tied to an ex-mobster with a complicated past and a tendency to brood?" "I'm sure I want to be tied to the man who dives in without hesitation, who holds our daughter like she's made of wishes, who's turning his old warehouse into a community center because he believes people deserve second chances." She kisses him softly. "I'm sure I want to be tied to you, Lucian D'Amato, all of you, even the complicated parts." They settle at the table he prepared, dinner waiting under silver covers, nothing fancy, just the pasta dish she mentioned loving weeks ago, the kind of detail that proves he listens, he remembers. He cares about the small things that make her who she is. As they eat, they talk about the future with the kind of specificity that makes it real. Spring wedding, small guest list, the greenhouse as the venue. Hope as flower girl, even though she'll probably eat more petals than she throws. Dahlia sent a card. Serafina mentions producing it from her purse. "Congratulations." She heard through, I don't know how, actually. Prison gossip? The article? Lucian reads the simple message. "May your love bloom in every season. You both deserve gardens, not graveyards. D." That's surprisingly poetic for someone who tried to kill you. People contain multitudes. Serafina takes the card back, studies it. She's trying to be better. I can honor that without forgetting what she did. Both things can be true. You're more gracious than I'd be. You dove into a pool to save your enemy's wife. Don't talk to me about grace. She reaches across the table, takes his hand. We're both more gracious than we think. We just needed reasons to prove it. They finish dinner as the sun sets completely, the greenhouse glowing like a lantern in the darkness. When Lucian stands and extends his hand, Serafina takes it, lets him pull her into a slow dance despite the lack of music, or maybe the roses themselves provide the rhythm, blooming in time with their heartbeats. "I love you," Lucian says, the words still new enough to feel like gifts. "I should have said it a year ago. 8 years ago, I should have said it the moment I pulled you from that van. You did say it, just not with words." Serafina rests her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "You said it every time you chose mercy over violence. Every time you protected me instead of yourself. Every time you held Hope like she was the most important person in the world. She is. You both are. They sway together in the greenhouse, surrounded by roses that shouldn't bloom this late in the season but do anyway, defying expectations because sometimes beauty refuses to follow the rules. And in this moment, this perfect, hard-won, impossibly gentle moment, the past, finally, releases its grip. The scars remain, but they no longer dictate the story. They're just proof of survival, markers on a map showing where they've been and how far they've traveled. The future stretches ahead, uncertain and full of possibility. There will be hard days, moments when the past resurfaces, when trauma echoes louder than hope, but they'll face it together, diving in for each other, pulling each other toward the surface again and again. Because that's what love is. Not the absence of drowning, but the presence of someone who refuses to let you sink. And here, in the greenhouse built on the grave of their worst moment, they dance towards tomorrow, engaged, imperfect, and finally, beautifully free. Spring arrives with the kind of gentle insistence that makes believers out of cynics. The greenhouse transforms into a wedding venue through subtle touches. White ribbons woven through rose trellises, chairs arranged in intimate rows, candles waiting to be lit as the sun sets. Serafina stands in what used to be Cassian's study, now converted into a getting-ready room, and barely recognizes herself in the mirror. Her dress is simple, elegant, cream-colored rather than white because she's been married before, and this time feels different enough to deserve its own color. Hope sits at her feet, determinedly putting on her own shoes backwards. "Need help, baby?" Serafina kneels, gently correcting the shoes. "Do self." Hope protests but allows the assistance because she's learning that sometimes accepting help is its own kind of strength. A knock at the door. Maya Chen enters, camera around her neck. "The journalist turned wedding photographer. Hope you don't mind, I couldn't miss this." "I'm glad you're here." Serafina stands, smoothing her dress. "You told our story, right? Seemed fitting you'd be here for this chapter, too." "How are you feeling?" "Terrified, joyful, certain." Serafina laughs. "All of it at once. Is that normal?" "For a woman marrying the man who literally saved her life, I'd say it's exactly right." Maya adjusts her camera. "Ready?" "Almost." Serafina picks up Hope, settles her on her hip. "Now I'm ready." They walk through the house, this space that used to reek of Cassian's control but now breathes with different energy. Photos of Hope cover the walls. Lucian's jacket hangs by the door. Books on horticulture and child development clutter the coffee table. It's lived in, loved in, real. The greenhouse doors open. Inside, 40 guests rise, small gathering, carefully chosen. Enzo sits in the front row, somehow looking dignified despite his history. Dahlia's chair is empty, a deliberate space acknowledging her absence but also her journey. Marcus sits alone, sober and present, offering Serafina a nod of respect. And at the end of the aisle, standing in the exact spot where he pulled her from the water, Lucian waits. He's wearing a simple suit, no tie, his hair still slightly unruly despite obvious attempts to tame it. When he sees Serafina, his expression cracks open, joy and disbelief and love so pure it's almost painful to witness. Serafina walks slowly, Hope in her arms, because she refuses to walk this aisle without her daughter. Each step feels significant, intentional. Past the roses that bloomed from trauma, past the chairs holding people who've witnessed their journey, toward the man who taught her that falling doesn't have to mean dying. Sometimes it means finally landing where you belong. She reaches Lucian. Hope immediately reaches for him, and he takes her smoothly, settling her on his hip while reaching for Serafina's hand with the other. The officiant, a woman who runs the local community center Lucian's been funding, smiles warmly. We're gathered here in this greenhouse, in this space that represents transformation and resilience, to witness the union of Serafina and Lucian. She continues, but Serafina barely hears the words. She's too focused on Lucian's face, on the way he looks at her like she's the answer to questions he forgot he was asking. The vows come. Lucian goes first. Serafina, I'm not good at words. I'm better at action. So I promise you action. His voice is steady, certain. I promise to dive in every time you fall. To hold you when the past gets loud. To be the father hope deserves and the partner you've earned. He pauses, emotion thickening his voice. I promise to keep becoming someone worthy of this, of you, of her, of the life we're building, not because I have to, but because loving you makes me want to be better than I ever thought possible. Serafina's turn. She takes a breath, steadying herself. Lucian, you saved me twice. But the third time, the most important time, you taught me to save myself. You showed me that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, about turning pools into greenhouses, about choosing love even when fear is louder. Tears stream freely now. I promise to keep diving in for you too, to see you, really see you, not as who you were, but as who you're becoming, to build a life where our daughter learns that redemption is real, that second chances matter, and that love is the bravest thing we do. The officiant smiles. The rings? Enzo steps forward, producing 2 simple bands. Lucian slides one onto Serafina's finger. She mirrors the gesture, and the metal is warm from being held close to Enzo's heart during the ceremony. By the power vested in me, and witnessed by everyone who loves you, I pronounce you married. You may. Lucian kisses her before the officiant finishes, hope squished between them, squealing with delight. The greenhouse erupts in applause, and Maya's camera clicks rapid fire, capturing the moment where broken pieces finally form something whole. As they walk back down the aisle, husband, wife, daughter, Serafina notices the roses seem to bloom brighter, as if they too are celebrating. She catches Maya's eye, mouths, "Thank you," and Maya just smiles, camera raised, documenting this proof that sometimes stories do have happy middles, if not endings. Because this isn't an ending. It's a beginning that earned its right to exist. The reception unfolds with gentle chaos, Hope stealing cake before it's cut, Enzo making an unexpectedly touching toast about second chances, Marcus quietly thanking Lucian for saving his life in more ways than one. As the sun sets, casting the greenhouse in golden light, Serafina and Lucian dance alone while guests watch from the edges. "Did you ever imagine this?" Serafina asks. "When you pulled me from that van 8 years ago, did you imagine we'd end up here? No, I imagined you'd go on to have a beautiful life, and I'd disappear into mine. Clean separation." Lucian pulls her closer. "I'm glad I was wrong." "Me too." She rests her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, alive. "Thank you for being wrong, for diving in, for staying. Thank you for letting me." They dance as the sky darkens and the candles take over, creating constellations of light throughout the greenhouse. Hope eventually falls asleep in Enzo's arms, and the guests begin to filter out, leaving only the quiet and the roses and the couple who refuse to let tragedy write their ending. Voiceover, soft and reflective, carries through the space. Some scars aren't meant to fade. They're meant to remind us what we survived, what we overcame. Who we became in the process of refusing to break. Lucian and Serafina stand together in the greenhouse, surrounded by the evidence of their transformation, and know that whatever comes next, whatever challenges, whatever ghosts, whatever storms, they'll face it the same way they faced everything else, together, diving in, refusing to drown. 2 years later. Morning light filters through the greenhouse glass, painting everything in shades of gold and green. The roses have grown wild in the best way, cascading over trellises, climbing toward the sky, blooming in colors that shouldn't exist together but somehow do. Lucian walks through carrying Hope, now 3, talkative, fearless, while Serafina follows with their second daughter, 6-month-old Grace, nestled in a carrier against her chest. "Careful, Principessa," Lucian warns as Hope reaches for a particularly thorny stem. "Beautiful things still have edges." "Like Mama," Hope says matter-of-factly, and both parents laugh because children sometimes speak truth that adults forget. They reach the center of the greenhouse where the deepest part of the pool used to be. The glass floor installed there allows them to look down at the original turquoise tiles, preserved intentionally. A reminder, a monument, a testament. Hope presses her face to the glass, peering down. "That's where Mama fell?" "That's where Mama fell," Serafina confirms, kneeling beside her daughter. "And where your papa dived in to catch her. Was you scared?" "Terrified," Serafina says honestly, "because they've decided to raise their daughters with truth, not fairy tales. But sometimes being scared and being brave happen at the same time. Did it hurt?" Lucian joins them on the floor, careful with Hope in his lap. "Sometimes saving people hurts, but it's worth it." Hope considers this with the seriousness only toddlers can muster. "I would die for you, too." "I know you would, baby." Serafina kisses her daughter's head. "But hopefully you'll never have to. That's what we're working for. A world where fewer people are drowning." They sit together on the glass, 4 souls suspended above the place that almost ended everything, now surrounded by evidence that endings can become beginnings if you're stubborn enough to demand it. Above them, through the greenhouse panels, the sky is impossibly blue. Clear, vast, full of birds and clouds and possibility. The nonprofit just got approved for expansion, Serafina mentions. 3 new locations across the state. Waiting lists are already full. That's amazing. Lucian's pride is obvious. "You built something that matters." "We built it," she corrects. "You funded it, designed the program structure, recruited staff. This is ours, not mine." "Fine, we're both amazing." He grins, then sobers slightly. "Enzo called. Cassian's getting out next year. Early release for good behavior." The name still carries weight, though less than it used to. Time has sanded some edges, turned sharp pain into dull ache. "How do you feel about that?" Serafina asks. "Like it doesn't matter anymore. He's a stranger now." "Whatever power he had, over you, over me, over this story, we took it back." Lucian looks around the greenhouse. "He tried to drown you with lies, but look what we built instead." Serafina follows his gaze. The roses, the programs, the families who come here to heal. Survivors of domestic violence learning to garden. Veterans finding peace in soil and growth. Children who've known trauma discovering that beautiful things can bloom even in broken places. "Love, like light, always finds the surface," she murmurs. "What's that?" "Something I'm writing for the new brochure, about how darkness can't last forever. Eventually, if you keep swimming, you break through." She adjusts Grace, who's starting to fuss. "We broke through." "We did." Lucian stands, pulling Hope up with him. "Come on, Trouble. Let's check on the new plantings. They walk together through the greenhouse, this family built from ashes and second chances, and the space seems to hum with contentment. Visitors will arrive in an hour for the morning therapy session. Staff will bustle through with supplies and schedules. The work of healing will continue its patient, essential rhythm. But for now, in this golden moment, it's just them. Lucian, Seraphina, Hope, and Grace. Walking through a garden that grew from a grave. Living proof that trauma doesn't have to be the end of the story. Hope spots a butterfly and chases it, squealing. Lucian follows at a measured pace, ready to catch her if she stumbles. Seraphina watches them with Grace sleeping against her chest, and feels something settle deep in her bones. Peace. Hard-won, trauma weathered, absolutely real peace. The pool beneath the glass catches sunlight. Turquoise tiles shimmering like they're still filled with water. But they're not. They're dry, safe, covered with soil and roots, and the persistent, stubborn life that refused to be drowned. Seraphina takes one last look at where she fell, then turns her gaze upward, toward the sky, toward the light, toward everything they've built and everything still to come. The past doesn't vanish, but it can bow. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave, you can turn the places that almost killed you into the places that teach others how to live. They tried to drown her with lies, but love, like light, always finds the surface. In the end, the pool didn't take her life. It gave her a story. The fall didn't break her. It revealed what she was made of. And the man who dived in didn't save her. He just reminded her she was worth saving. Some gardens grow in soil. Others grow in the spaces between scars. This is the story of a woman who fell, a man who dove, and a love that refused to drown. This is proof that broken hearts can bloom again. The camera slowly pulls back, showing the greenhouse from above, a jewel of glass and green in the middle of the estate, then wider still, showing the courtyard, the house, the city beyond. Life continuing, stories unfolding, second chances being written in real time. The image fades to white, and text appears. If stories like this remind you that broken hearts can still bloom again, subscribe to MCU Tales, where every scar has a story, and every fall finds its rise.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.